The following Brock Purdy statistic is going to make you feel not great. What's up? Good morning. Welcome to the 49ers Discourse Leaders as voted on by everyone. That's Jose Sanchez. I'm Grant Cohn. Today's episode is brought to you by Factor. Factor's chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals are ready in just 2 minutes, taking the hassle out of eating well. I use this and you should too. Get started at factormeals.com/Cohn50off and use code Cohn50off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. That's code Cohn50off at factormeals.com/Cohn50off for 50% off plus free shipping. In addition, this episode is brought to you by InTheCloud. If you're 21 or over, now's your chance to float above the stress because InTheCloud has given all new customers 25% off their first order plus free shipping. Just use code COHN or click the link in the show notes to claim your discount. That's InTheCloud.co. Use code COHN for free shipping plus 25% off your first order. All right, that's our business for the day. Hold on just a second. Hold on. I'm in a hotel.
He's got the room service. Bringing up his Pinot Grigio. You guys don't know, Grant's a very wine snobby type of person, so he gets wine at.
Dude, the guy at the door got like super insistent. He's like, they told me you checked out. First of all, checkout's at 11. It's 10:39. And last night I went to the sweet lady at the front. Such a sweet lady. And I said, could I check out later? She said, absolutely, house 1230. This guy's banging on my door. Get ready for a 4-star review. Just kidding.
I was just telling everyone about how you're like ordering wine just now, and that you're getting a Pinot Grigio delivered. That's why you got up.
Yeah, nothing starts my day better at 10:39 than a Pinot Gris.
Well, I mean, when you're on vacation, there's no such thing. It's like sauce o'clock every time. It's always.
It is sauce o'clock, but once I finish my work for the day, which will be in 45 minutes. So, let's talk Brock Purdy. This is a very interesting stat, and it was brought to my attention by Brian Nemhauser. I don't know if you know who Brian Nemhauser is. He's the Hawk blogger. He's a big Seattle Seahawks guy, and he's always looking for stats that, paint the other NFC West teams in a bad light. And this was a bad one for the Niners and the Cardinals. Why don't we take a look at the screen? So this is the stats. As you can see, 2022 to 2024, fourth quarter overtime, between 5 minutes and 0 minutes remaining. Playoffs, non-playoffs, score between 8 points one way or another. So close games late. Best quarterbacks, Joe Burrow, Geno, Baker, Justin Herbert, Jaden Daniels, Lamar Jackson, Tua, Stroud, Brady. Who you would expect. But where is Brock? Where is Brock Purdy? See, Brock Purdy's here. No touchdowns, 3 picks, quarterback rating of 58. Kyler Murray, right next to him. 0 touchdowns, 4 picks, 57 quarterback rating. Jimmy Garoppolo right there too. And down there, I think is interesting. Where is Hurts? Hurts is here. 1 touchdown, 4 picks, 52.9 rating. So those are 4 quarterbacks who've had some success in the NFL, but not in that particular situation. Purdy in particular, how do you view these stats? He's never thrown a touchdown with 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter of a close game, ever.
Not shocked because he doesn't seem the type of. Well, number one, we're gonna ride McCaffrey to the ground anyways. That's always been our problem for the last 2 years. It's like, hey man, the Bills, it's like kicking the can down the road in this guy's body. Like, dude, let's rest him up for a little bit, man. Because what's gonna happen? He's gonna probably miss a large portion of the season. Sure enough, he did. 2024 happened. I just view it as like it's. I don't even view it more so as a Purdy issue necessarily. Maybe it's partly is, but one thing for sure is this is more of a Kyle Shanahan offense issue because the passing game, it's just not a unique one. It's not. Kyle Shanahan's passing game is, especially when the running game is not going to be utilized, it's very average. It's not that hard to scheme or defend against as long as you can if you can get ahead of the game, if you can get a score ahead and force them to come back, then all of a sudden it's like, what are we doing here? And maybe even Kyle Shanahan starts to get a little tight. I don't know. But the point is, his offense is not really meant to do that. You just saw Jimmy Garoppolo's there, and as much as Jimmy Garoppolo stinks, it's like, okay, like Brock Purdy's way better than Garoppolo. And while, again, it might be a small part in Purdy not being necessarily good for those moments, and they do rely on McCaffrey more, but it's more of an offensive issue because they don't have the greatest passing game to really put themselves in the situation to come back.
It's a great point. Like, is this a Brock Purdy stat or is this a Kyle Shanahan stat? I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo's right there. And the fact that Kyler Murray struggles in the fact that Jalen Hurts, forget Kyler, Jalen Hurts struggles in the same situation is probably a good thing for the 49ers. Like, you can have a quarterback who is a system guy and maybe isn't super clutch, and you can win a Super Bowl if you put the right team around him. And the Niners came close with Brock, so maybe there's hope there. But yeah, I mean, this might be a Kyle Shanahan stat. It doesn't help that when you get to these moments, the play caller and the head coach seems to be at his best. He seems to shrink. He seems like he had choking issues before he was a head coach. So hard to put it all on Brock. He's gonna throw a touchdown with 5 minutes left eventually. I'm sure he will. Just hasn't done it yet.
This year. He's gonna have to probably this year because that defense is gonna give up some points for sure. And then look, another reason why that probably cements the reasoning that it is a Shanahan issue is Jalen Hurts. He's had 2 different coordinators, and those coordinators have so far proved very solid for him. Mm-hmm. Or just even when Steichen left. I mean Steichen again. Steichen left and went to the Colts. They look like a good offense, even though he has no one throwing the ball well over there. But still, he's had good offensive coordinators, has good play callers over there, and he still has that stat there. But same thing, similar offense. They're a run first. Saquon Barkley is the number 1 option, lead guy to really be the driving horse. So is the 49ers offense. Christian McCaffrey is that guy, the lead horse. And it's just, you don't want to necessarily rely on that quarterback to be the reason why you win all the time. It should happen on occasions. There's been times Brock went out there like, yeah, Brock was the reason why they won that game, but he's not the reason why they've won majority of their games. It's been the totality of the offense. And if not, more times than not, because Christian McCaffrey's going off or Saquon Barkley in this instance.
I just feel like Kyle, coming back to him, is just not, his whole system isn't built to win close games. Now, if he has a dominant defense, he can do it, but like his game script ideally is to get an early lead and then play with the lead and put the game away in the third quarter. And we've seen him do that, like especially in 2023, he did it a lot. But it seems like now when you're paying your quarterback 50, whatever, what is it, 53 or something $million a year, you're not going to have that dominant team anymore. You're probably not going to be blowing out teams 2-3 times a month anymore. So someone has to figure out how to win these games, and you don't have a hurry up offense. You don't have a great offensive line. I mean, there's so many things that get in the way.
Yeah, I think this year's going to be the last year where you can afford to do that with Brock not having to put as much on his shoulders, because they do still have a very talented offense. Like on paper, this is like a top 10 loaded offense, always on paper, right? Because we're not factoring in health, but on paper, this is still a top 10, maybe even 8 offense talented wise in the league. Like I know for sure, like more than half the league would more than half of play callers or coaches in the league would take the 49ers offense in a heartbeat over theirs right now. So right now they're fine, but yeah, next year, if Purdy's still on the team and if Say doesn't I'm sure he's still gonna be on the team, even if he does have a bad year. But next year's the year, 2026 is where it's like, we really need you to take some type of leap forward in 2025 to show us that, okay, cool, he stepped up, he's better, he's 2023 version, maybe even a little better than that. And now we can rely off when we don't have an extra talent or 2 on offense, because yeah, like you said, it's going to be more rest. That demand's not this year, but now it's like, Brock, this is your last chance. That forcing stuff last year, that was kind of bad, but now it's now this year is going to be your last year to actually really get comfortable and be yourself and develop, because there is going to be that time where we are going to need you. That's 2026. It's not now. So let's see if you can actually play within the confines of yourself while also getting better. It's going to be a tough, tuck and pull, I feel like, in that sense, because he didn't prove that last year where he can handle it on his own. But I think he just wasn't ready. So I guess maybe a year or 2, maybe he will be, but who knows? That's why he's got to go out there and play.
Regardless of whose fault it is, though, whether it's Brock or Kyle's, it's a 49ers problem. And they have to find a way to improve and fix this year. And if they can't, then they have to ask questions like, do they need a quarterback who can overcome Kyle Shanahan in these moments? Or do they need a coach who can elevate Brock Purdy in these moments? Or are both of these guys chokers? I think that's kind of what's at stake for these guys right now. I mean, I think Matt Ryan probably was better in these moments. I don't know. I'd have to go back and look at the numbers, but that's probably why he was so successful as a quarterback for so long. He was battle tested, and Brock, he's still relatively young. He's going to have moments where he comes through in the clutch, but I feel like part of the reason Seahawks fans were so adamant that Geno Smith was good is these moments. And I think part of the reason that Niner fans are so adamant that Russell Wilson was a borderline great quarterback is because of these moments against the Niners in particular. So It's one way to judge a quarterback. It's not everything, but I mean, it's what made Joe Montana. It's the clutch. And he's got to show that he can be good in these moments. So far, he hasn't. And neither was Jimmy.
The only thing for the one that pops up in my head immediately, like one was like Brock, like really good on the final drive that led to a win. And it was, well, it didn't lead to a win, but he put him in a position was 2023 Detroit. Against the Browns.
Yep.
That for some reason, that's one that sticks out to me. Maybe because
and then Moody missed Moody missed the kick, right?
Moody missed the kick. Yeah. Like he made the right throw. He had one like sweet pass and then he had like a nice, like 3 to 4 check downs or like underneath routes. That's like, hey, he's making the right decisions. That's all you got to do. So he played really well on that final drive. Brandon Ayuk, I know, was one that really like kind of carried it, but still, like in terms of like, did he do well? Was he efficient? Was he good? Yeah, he was fine. He was good.
Here's the final gut punch for Niner fans for this stat: Darnold, 25-41, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick, 108.8 rating. This is why Nemhauser found the stat because he's like looking for pro Darnold stats, right? And he just happened to find a really Darnold surprisingly clutch, even though the perception is that he's like the biggest choker of all time. Actually, in close games late, he's been all right the last few years. And so is Geno. It's just that Kyler and Brock were not interesting. And I think we can see that with Kyler. Kyler has like no defining late moments in games. Sometimes he plays well, but it's usually when the pressure is off.
Probably has a little bit of a quitter attitude because he's a COD player, and like a lot of COD players like to rage quit. So, all right,
I got a follow-up question for you. A lot of people say Brock saved Kyle's job. Kyle drafted Trey Lance. That went up in smoke. If they hadn't gotten lucky with Brock, if Brock hadn't emerged out of freaking nowhere, everyone here would be fired. Is that true? Do you agree with that?
Man, yeah, because I cheated. I saw your tweet and I was thinking yes and then no, and I'm thinking yes and no again. But I'm gonna stick with the initial gut, even though I think I'm gonna get convinced. He did save his job because the owner was literally looking at the quarterback in a scope, like in terms of like if we had Brock Purdy on board, cool, thank God. And it wasn't for Trey Lance getting hurt. Then it's like, oh God, we're screwed. Now we got Purdy to save the day because they kind of gave up on Trey immediately. And like, look, this was when you do it, that should have been a fireable offense for almost any coaches. Like the way it didn't work out with Trey Lance. It's like that's going to go down in like top 5 worst probably draft trades of all time, if not the worst. You convince me of the worst. I probably do think it's the worst. But when you're mortgaging the franchise on the most important position in the freaking team, and you whip that bad, and if it wasn't for him to be your contingency, your backup plan, it wasn't even intentional. You just accidentally stumbled upon him because you didn't want him. Brian Griese wanted him, and it was just the last pick of the draft. So it was like, why not? Yeah, Brock Purdy saved his job, or at least he salvaged it from like getting to a point where he was going to really be on the hot seat. Because again, we're talking about the most important position here. Without Trey Lance, then we were stuck with him. You're still stuck with Trey Lance, who's like kind of injury prone, kind of like, what do we have here? And then you're just scavenging for quarterbacks, or are you how are you gonna be Kyle? Like, hey, you're gonna go convince York? Yeah, I know Trey's not good, but Kirk Cousins out there. You lost your chance on me convincing me on a quarterback. You wanted Jimmy, you wanted these guys. Like you've lost me. You've lost me. Now I.
So there, okay, you're going in and out a little bit, but I think you're gonna come back. Here's the way I look at it, though. Like, yes, technically Brock. I mean, you might convince me. Maybe Brock saved his job. The way it played out, it seems like it because the Trey stuff. You hear me? So, like, what if the Niners had never traded for Christian McCaffrey? Let's take that as a variable. Kyle decides he's not worth it. He's too injury prone, and Jed decides he's too expensive. The season plays out the same way. Trey gets hurt. Jimmy gets hurt, and Brock eventually starts in November or whatever it is without Christian. Does he go on that run? Do they make the playoffs? I mean, does Kyle keep his job? I mean, you could argue maybe that it was the Christian trade, that once they traded for Christian, all of a sudden Jimmy started winning. Brock went on a winning streak. I don't know if Lance could have done it, but maybe Darnold would have won a lot in 2023. I mean, once they got Christian, it seemed like a lot of quarterbacks could succeed in this team, at least for a year, while Christian was good.
Maybe I still have it in my notes somewhere on my phone, but I remember after that point being a thing, like who was more beneficial to the 49ers in 2022? Was it Brock Purdy or was it Christian McCaffrey? And I remember like me and you, like when we were streaming back then, we kept talking about like, dude, what's up with this offense? Like it was after that Atlanta loss, like they don't have options. It's like, yeah, because Kyle doesn't have his ace in the hole, which Deebo Samuel, and teams are selling out to stop him. And now without him, it's like, now what? You have a limited quarterback in Jimmy who one read, you have nothing. So what are you doing here? What are you doing? And then they traded for McCaffrey, and all of a sudden the offense did great again. But when Brock Purdy got installed, I think Jimmy played about like almost 5 games with Christian McCaffrey. And then when Brock went in there, just regular season alone, I remember I'm pretty sure I took away the playoff games. They were averaging a touchdown more with Brock, with McCaffrey in the same amount of games that Jimmy did. So that's why, like, and for me, like, I'm a big, like, you can use all your yards, whatever the hell you want to say. I'm looking at points. The point of the game is to score freaking points. And when Brock Purdy was on there, he got the most out of that talent. Now, maybe you could say it's still a proponent of McCaffrey, sure. But when that just shows you when you got Purdy in there, it's like, okay, now all of a sudden, all the talents are getting maximized because he's optimizing everyone. And now all of a sudden, we have a whole 6 points extra on the board because of him. So I still think it's probably Brock. But I could see, like, yeah, because you had McCaffrey, it changed, like, your offense, elevated everything. Because now you got a receiver. Now you got a red zone threat. Now you got a great running game. And plus, I think even to a degree last year, there was times where without McCaffrey, like, it was like, look, the offense is pretty fine, especially running wise. Like, Jordan Mason was there was fine. Where he was really missed was like the passing game in the red zone, right?
Yep.
But I just think those are moments where Brock was just underperforming and they just weren't executing as well. And sometimes the block, like, things just didn't come together. So as much as, like, it stung not having McCaffrey, and of course that would have been a way better offense with him, I just think, like, after seeing last year, like, look, the thing is they were fine as an offense. They just weren't getting the freaking ball to the goal line. They weren't getting it there.
They were fine. I feel like they go back to 2022. You were just talking about it. Christian wasn't there yet. They lost to Atlanta. They were 3-3. Debo wasn't having the same impact that he had in 2021. He wasn't just carrying them to wins. And they were like kind of a disjointed, mediocre team. They trade for Christian McCaffrey, take off. Then 2 years later, McCaffrey's hurt. And they have this disjointed, mediocre season where they have their moments, but they're basically not that great. I feel like the team they were in early 2022 and the team they were in 2024, a lot of different players, but kind of a similar end result. Like Brock couldn't elevate that mediocre team last year. And I don't know if he could have elevated the 2022 team if Christian weren't there. I feel like that's my final take, is that when we look back on the Christian McCaffrey era, if it's over, we'll see if he bounces back this year. Like, he really was, for a year and a half, playing at like a Hall of Fame level.
He was special.
He really was special.
He was special. Yeah, no, I think that's a fair point for sure. That's why, like, I could see, like, when I was going back and forth with it, I was like, you know what? Yeah, that actually, like, does make sense. Cause, like, okay, you don't have McCaffrey. He does just so much for that offense. Now it's like, hey, look, Jed, I messed up on Trey, and, like, we just have an average quarterback again. But look, I got McCaffrey, got all this stuff. So our offense still winning. We're back to square one where we have, like, a machine for a quarterback, a robot at the quarterback position, and we're just, everything else is around them. Yeah. I just think because it's just like what everything went into it, the process, the PR, and, like, one thing about the 49ers, I love PR. I mean, like you even said, when McCaffrey got brought in, like, they just blasted his face all over Levi's Stadium.
Oh my God.
And then on the way to the Super Bowl last year, I remember Jed did that little hallway interview with you guys, and he's just like, wait, where the hell did you come from? First of all, Jed, you've been quiet all year. And second of all, he's like, oh yeah, I've known Brock Purdy was going to be the stud since trash training camp. It's like, oh, here we go. Here goes the prop up. He's over there to collect his flowers. It's like every owner's contagious about this. It's like, oh no, it's just, don't forget, guys, I get part of this too. Like, even though he was being humble, he was also, like, trying to, like, just that act alone was just like, what? Like, come on, bro. Like, get out of here.
If I were Christian, I would look around the locker room, the sideline, and I'd look at people and be like, I got you paid. Brock, 265, I got you paid. Kyle, I got you an extension. A lot. Ayuk, $30 million a year. You're welcome. One-on-one. Where you get those one-on-one matchups from? Your boy. Say thank you. That's how I'd feel if I was Christian, man. Like, I'm over here getting paid peanuts because I'm a freaking running back when I'm objectively the most valuable player on this team, and I got all you guys paid. And now I'm hurt, and my career is looking like it could be over soon because I'm a running back. Sucks. It's the way it goes. Sorry. Like, he had an ability to make teammates better in ways I haven't seen running backs. His ability as a receiver made things, great player, but he got hurt a lot. Okay, let's look at it another way. So Brock kind of did save Kyle's job. Came in at the right time. If he wasn't there, who knows? The other way, though, would people know who Brock Purdy is if he had been drafted or signed by any other team? Do you think he'd be a starter in the league? Would his rise have been inevitable, or was he in the right place at the right time?
Well, he definitely was in the right place at the right time, right? Because it took 2 players falling down for him to get there, and then he had to beat a nobody in Nate Sudfeld. So he essentially had to wait for 3 quarterbacks to collapse, even though one of them he did on his own, right, in training camp. And then
He
I
had to
think
wait
also
for the team to trade for Christian McCaffrey too. Don't play before then. After.
I think also another thing is maybe even also the branding too, because he gets the spotlight. If this thing is like, if he's like drafted by the Carolina Panthers last, like, is he really getting this blown up the same way? Because no one cares about the Panthers. Even when Cam Newton was there, like, sure, they were talking about them, but it's like, bro, like, it's not the same as when you're a big brand like the 49ers or Cowboys or Steelers or whatever teams you want to talk
Packers.
about. Yeah, Packers or maybe Chiefs now, I guess. So I just don't think that would have been the same at all. And then I'm trying to think about 2022, who were quarterback needy teams that time? Like, just to actually like make it more practical, like who were quarterback needy teams?
Pittsburgh needed a team.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know if he would have succeeded with Matt Canada over there. Like,
yeah, exactly. So that like the system goes well too, because Shanahan was a great, like, Shanahan may not be the quarterback whisperer, but his system is a quarterback. Like, in terms of him developing quarterbacks, he may not be that, but he's definitely one where like a system like a quarterback can thrive in, if not all of them. Like, so there's no way. Yeah, Matt Canada. Like, hell no. Like, how many times have I seen Steelers fans or content creators like just smack talk him so much on that app? It was so crazy. So no, I don't think he would have done well. And it's a cold weather city, right?
I'm not sure he'd ever be. I mean, the fact that he became a starter with the Niners was improbable to begin with, but they're the only team that saw him fit to be a draft pick. He would have been on a practice squad. He would have been an undrafted free agent. He would have gotten an opportunity eventually, but would it have been on a good team? Would he have gone on a 12-game winning streak like he did with the 49ers? Would he be seen as this Cinderella story, this Disney story? Like, I don't think so. And I think that's why he needs to keep that in perspective. Like, yes, he did save some people's jobs, and yes, he's a really good player, but man, the Niners made you. Dude, you were like, no one thought anything of Brock coming out of high school. No one. No one thought anything of Brock coming out of college. He was a starter for 4 years in high school, a starter for 4 years in college. He had ample opportunity to show that he was special. He couldn't. And then on the Niners, he did. Joe Montana went to Notre Dame. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's not many examples of diamonds in the rough in Niners history like Brock's supposed to be. So, yeah, right place, right time.
Yeah. And then, talk about right place, right time. And it's just last pick. Like, you're talking about fringe undrafted free agent. And even then, if you missed out on that, if they didn't take him, like, where is he signing at? Like, remember, like, didn't even John Lynch joke at the press conference or something like that? Like, oh, I always joke with him, like, would you think you would have signed with this? And he's like, yeah, no way was he signing with you guys. You guys had Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo's weird situation at that time when he was supposed to get traded, but we didn't know, because remember, that whole offseason was so entertaining. It's like, dude, Jimmy Garoppolo's still on the team. That's how you started going on a meme tour. Is like, it's like day 300 and Jimmy Garoppolo's still on the team. And it's like, what's going on here? There's no way Brock was going to sign with them. Like, it's just, I think that's just what makes the story, like, no matter what you think about Brock as a player, is like, that's such a fascinating and crazy story. And that's what makes sports, especially football, like, so great. It's like, wow, like, what on earth? Like, you're not seeing this in basketball, because number one, basketball only has like only a couple rounds, right? And then number two, it's like the odds of a 7th rounder in any capacity becoming a starter, especially a quarterback. Like, I know people say like, oh, Tom Brady is like, yeah, well, you know what? It's not like Brady was like hitting the ground running like that compared to like Brock was. It's just
Brady went to Michigan. Like, Brady, when he came out of high school, clearly was higher regard. That's the thing about Purdy. You watched the Bussin' with the Boys thing, right?
Yeah, he pretty much said he was a late bloomer. He was like, yeah, it wasn't until my last month of high school recruiting that I barely got a few. And then he said the same thing about college. So he's like, not a Johnny come lately. Maybe he is a Johnny come lately, I guess you can kind of say, in a way. That feels a little harsh.
He's either a late bloomer, the entire world has no idea how to scout the quarterback position and doesn't value the right traits, or he was in the right place at the right time, man, or a combination.
It's definitely the second one for sure. There's a lot, but I think that's every team. I think that's almost every team. No, it's not just like, it's like, that's why we have a mass quarterback starters that just like, are these guys supposed to be starters? Like, what's going on here? Like, they don't know what they're looking at. They put them in the wrong system and then they don't get going. Like, just imagine how many quarterbacks, if we just put them in different teams. It's like, if you put him there, this would have been so much better. Like
that's
hell,
true.
you could probably say the same thing with Trey Lance. Like, it's like, oh, he had everything. It's like, yeah, but because he had everything, that's what made him like have no leash, no leeway. And like, he might have still been a stinky player, but I don't know, if you just put him on the Panthers, like you put Bryce Young, it's like, oh, now you got to play. And guess what? If you suck, you're going to keep playing. And maybe that would have benefited.
What would Trey Lance be right now if he had 25 starts under his belt, like every other top 10 pick ever? What do you mean? I don't know. We'll never know.
Imagine if he didn't skip his season. Like, there's just no.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Purdy being a starter, like he just needs to be very fortunate. I think that goes to the point where people thought he would take more of a discount. It's like, well, you should be fortunate. They took you. You're the reason. Like a large reason why you were good here is because of where you were drafted, who you were with. And while that's largely true, it's like that wasn't really going to play a fact in him like taking like $35 million a year. Like, come on, like come on, like that wasn't going to work. But I remember that was like a factoring point of pushing. Like that's why he's going to take a discount. It's like, no, it's not. No, it's not.
No, it's not. Ricky Williams says our secondary is shaky, fellas. Need a cornerback and free safety. Which one do you think they need more? Cornerback,
safety? Safety? What the hell? Yeah. What do you even have? Your safeties are a guy coming off an ACL and a Jair Brown who just has an ankle scope, who was arguably your worst defensive player. I'd say he was the worst defensive player. I think he was the worst player in general.
What did you see from Jair Brown last as a fellow DB?
Oh my God. Terrible angles, soft, like no cover. Like what did he? It just pissed me off watching him, like, dude, trying to like chicken wing everyone, and like, you know, when you're trying to lay them out, like missed tackles, like, but it's the angles that he just took, and just like the feel for like he just felt like he just lost confidence to a degree. Maybe that's because of Sorensen. Maybe that's because I don't know. Like to me, I saw him in position many a time, so that's why I didn't blame Sorensen. And that was a lot of players. That's why I think Sorensen gets a bad rap. It's just like make the play, man. You know how to be a playmaker. That's the reason why you got drafted out of Penn State. You had so many picks, so many turnovers created, so many impactful plays that you just forgot. And it's not like his rookie year he was stellar or anything. Like he had some nice shining moments, but he had a lot of low moments. The point was second year leap. You're gonna take that leap. And he didn't. He was just such a liability. I could see him on the way out after this year or getting phased out for Jason Pinnock, because what did Saleh have? Saleh's not attached to him. Saleh has the autonomy now. Now if like you're him, it's like I haven't seen this guy yet. I've only seen him on film. Pinnock's my selection. Is he even going to be ready by day one of training camp? I know Shanahan said so, but let's see. What if there's like some hiccups? You know, you never know. So at this safety's like all bad right now, man. I just think now the 49ers have to like rewrite their own history. They got to learn from last year's mistakes. They're in the same situation they are in safety now that they were last year, where it's like, it's looking very like questionable, but we want to wait and see through training camp and then we'll play through it. And then they were comfortable through it and then it just didn't work out. So no, like guess what? You have the same last year. And they have the same and they have the same safeties as last year available that they do this year. Justin Simmons and Julian Blackman. It's like, go get one of them or do something. Like, it's not even about like maximizing Super Bowl. It's about maximizing, you know, it's about ensuring your defense isn't that bad, because you do want to feel like a somewhat competent back end of the defense. It's just very bad. It's just a very bad situation right on that safety.
Well, that leads us into our next topic, the biggest question marks on the team. Clearly the secondary is one of them, cornerback, especially safety. What else on this team? Biggest question marks?
The most glaring has to be McCaffrey, right? The most glaring.
The running back position in general, man.
That too.
So
Correndo looked good, but he got hurt like 3 times last year, maybe. Got hurt twice for sure. I think 3 times.
I like his ability as a receiver. They don't throw it to him very much, and as a running back, he's super boomer bust, and he gets hurt.
He looks awkward as a receiver because he's still kind of like stocky, so I don't see it. Yeah. But he was capable, especially in the Bears game. But it's because he's stocky. It's weird, and he's fast. Yeah. So it's like, damn, this guy's got a awkward build, but it's like it works because he's his
linebackers can't run with him up the field. They can't.
Oh no, they can't.
No,
but yeah. So yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, Corendo's also like, if McCaffrey gets hurt, upcoming Corendo's like, well, you know what, Jordan James, like, okay, Jordan James was solid in college, but still, it's how much is.
I think he's important. I think he's important because McCaffrey and Guerrero are similar. They're both like dual threat receivers who get hurt. Like, who's the Jordan Mason? Who's going to be the bruiser who kind of wears down a defense and gets the tough yards? It has to be him. That's what they drafted him to do. He was in the same backfield as Bucky Irving in college. Bucky Irving was great last year. I don't know if he's going to be Bucky Irving, but they need him to be.
I don't know if he'll be that bruising type because the way Jordan Mason was built compared to him. I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen him in person.
Jordan Mason's like 20 pounds bigger than him for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think more so. Yeah, I don't think they're going to get that. I think they got more like receiving, shape-shifting, finessing receivers.
He just needs to be tough and durable. Tough and durable. Not overpowering because he's not. He's 5'9", 205.
Well, they couldn't keep drafting those type of players. They did that with TDP, and that didn't work out. So at least if you drafted one, it's like we know someone who's like, sure, it's not necessarily, it's a skill set we already have at the running back position, but let's just take good players. So I don't mind that. But yeah, you're right. Running back position is like very sketchy. But it really starts with, like I said, McCaffrey. You're like, oh, yeah, but McCaffrey says he's fine, he's healthy, and Kyle Shanahan says he's as healthy as he can be. And it's like, yeah, remember when last year they said he was fine? Remember when last year they said he was fine, both of them,
Yep.
and he was going to play week 1
Yep.
no matter what? How did that work out? So
I feel like if you want your quarterback to be efficient and have good numbers, an easy way to do that, look at Detroit, look at Tampa the last couple of years, like running backs you can throw the ball to. All of a sudden, you're completing 73% of your passes. I mean, Sean Payton showed that with Alvin Kamara and Reggie Bush and Darren Sproles years ago. I think that's what was missing with this offense last year. Everything was too hard. People weren't open. Throws were down the field. Like the year before, there were a ton of first down throws, touchdown throws to running backs. Got to get back to that this year. And Jordan James has to contribute in that way as well.
He might default by have to, because like I said, McCaffrey, like, is he going to be healthy? That's always the number one if. Like, is he? I like, sure.
If he's healthy, is he great, or is he just hanging on?
And then that's the second part. And that's the second part. Like, is he going to be healthy? How many games does he last for? What's it going to look? And then, okay, cool. Tell me like he's only going to miss 2 games. All right, cool. That's fine. Given that he's a running back battered at his age, sure, 2 games. That sounds standard. Okay, but how's he going to look?
Here's the thing, though.
Version?
Here's the thing, though. So in 2019, he had 403 carries, touches in 2019. Didn't go to the playoffs. Okay, next year played 3 games. Year after that played 7. So that workload really cost him for 2 years. Then 2022 bounces back, great player. 23, great player. But in 23, he had 339 plus 52 touches in addition. No, plus 78 touches. That's 2023. So 340 essentially plus 77. So again, that's more than 400. And then the following season, 4 games. So if history repeats itself, he'll play like 8 this year. I mean, not to be a downer, but he's done this before.
He's done this before, and I feel like I feel like predicting McCaffrey's injuries are like kind of easy too at this point, because it's like 2023 was like the same thing. It's like, Kyle, why are you running up the score with McCaffrey? I know you want to get him his touchdown number, but it's like, think about the future, buddy. What are you doing, man?
It almost felt like Christian, like Christian was like, no, I'm getting the best extension I can get. I need every touchdown, every carry. I'm going to the negotiating table soon, and you're not taking me off the field. It seemed like someone probably should have saved him from himself.
Well, yeah, he legit was doing that, because I think even Kyle Shanahan said that. Like, oh, there's no taking him. I think not only him, he said that. I think even Chris Forster might have said that. Like, they all said, it's like, you guys are the head coaches. What do you mean? If you see a benefit, like, look, Christian, we're gonna remove 3 carries from you today in the fourth quarter. If we're up 10-0, if we're up by 10 points at least with 6 minutes left to go, I'm giving that to Mason or something like that. You know, like, or 14, because I get 10 points, you can still swing it hella easy off a turnover or something like that. But all right, 14, which they were in playing situations like that. And no, we're just gonna keep putting some mileage on you, and then not take you to the shop to get fixed. It's all good.
You got to remember too that when they traded for McCaffrey, it was kind of a controversial move. Like, not everyone liked it. I didn't like it. A lot of people gave it like a C minus. And the main knock was, dude, this dude's injury prone. How can you count on him? He's been hurt all the time. So it was very important for Christian for those 2 years when he had no guaranteed money left on his deal. A lot of people talked about that with the deal too. Like, hey, you know, there's not a lot of risk. There's no guaranteed money. He needed to show, no, I'm freaking durable. I'm a bell cow. You're not using me in some part-time role. Like, I'm here to prove a point over multiple. He did, but it cost him. It cost him.
And plus, making a trade like that for a running back, which at that point people had forgotten, because, you know, it'd been like almost 3 years at that point. Like, he was more than a running back, but it's like, oh, you're just trading all this for a running back? Like, what? And like, especially because like they did have Jeff Wilson. Jeff Wilson is like nowhere near the same player, but like they were okay. But I know again, the offense was missing. Like, I think he was barely averaging like 3 yards a carry. He wasn't really popping off too hard. Yeah. And he just came back, I think. No, he didn't start all games, I don't think. Right? I think he came back. Remember, he did that.
They just lost to Marcus Mariota and the Falcons. Like, that was very lost to Mariota. That sucks.
So Mariota, I think, he like completed 8 passes or something.
He was but he was like the offensive player of the week. That I think he like ran for 50 yards. I think he completed every throw or almost all of them.
No, I think he completed his first 8 throws, something like that. It was some weird stat, and like he just fell off after. But it's like, I remember that week people were like doubting the Falcons. I was like, hey, no, Falcons are scrappy, and then they won, and then
yeah, the Niners weren't at that point. Dangerous Dave's Jeeping says, love Salah, but are we honestly better? I'm worried.
Oh, they're better because it's a better coordinator, but to me, it's like, how much better? Because again, like I said with Jair Brown, it's like I seen him and other players like in position numerous times last year. These guys were just not making plays, and some of it's like misexecution, some of it's like they just don't have the right players, and it's just, how much can you do? And now he's got a bunch of rookies you're relying upon. Think about it. You're essentially relying upon 3 rookies on a defensive line, a fourth at linebacker, whether it's base or nickel, probably a fifth in the corner position, and maybe even a sixth at safety. So at the very least, you're relying upon what like 4 or 5 rookies in your defense, and then you got 2 to 3 other second-year players. That's a whole lot of youth you're relying upon. Like, these guys are going to mess up probably because not all of them are polished. They're going to be like on their P's and Q's. And that's one thing about Saleh. He's similar to Shanahan, right? It's like, I'm very want my players to be coverage, discipline oriented, and what the scheme is. So you guys don't mess up. Because if you just do that, if you just follow things, we're going to be okay. We're not going to allow too many big plays. But it's like, no, these guys are going to mess up at some point because they're young and they're going to like have lapses or get a little crazy, or it's going to be out of Saleh's control.
Yeah, I mean, what do you expect him to do? Like, turn them into veterans immediately? He can't do that. Josh Wyatt says, stop it. Purdy was a 4-year starter and program-changing player at Iowa State. He didn't come out of nowhere. He just has a noodle arm, and he's the same bad bet that got him a 7th-round grade 4 years ago. Yeah, he didn't come out. He's one of the more well-vetted quarterbacks of the last. I mean, 4-year starter in high school, too. Everyone saw him, knew him, decided he wasn't good enough until now that he's the 7th highest paid player in football. That's incredible. What a story. Manhattan Johns is bigger.
Those are his words, by the way, not our words that we were saying it. Like, he literally said that on the Plus One Boys. Like, yeah, I was late bloomer, other stuff in high school and even in Iowa, like at the end, like no love until that. So,
you know, it's funny too. Like, they talked a lot about college, Iowa State.
They did.
They're like, right? They're like Brocktober, man. He's like, man, I was 16-2 or 18-2 in October. It's an incredible stat. And then someone at the end was like, I think it was Will Compton. He's like, so what's your record in October in the NFL? He's like, you know, I don't know that, honestly. I was like, I think you do. And I looked it up, 5-6. Brocktober. Manhattan Johnson's bigger positive impact on the Niners next year. Saleh running the defense or the new commitment to special teams. Like, maybe we won't miss extra points in the Super Bowl. Super Bowl?
How cute.
I like that. Yeah, a commitment to special teams is nice, a commitment to it. The problem is that Jake Moody, there's a commitment to Jake Moody as well. Here's why I feel like Kyle Shanahan, if he's on the hot seat, I feel like Jake Moody is the indicator because he shouldn't be on this team. And the fact that he is makes me feel like Kyle's draft record in the first 3 rounds is so bad the last few years that he can't take another L internally. You know what I mean?
He's pretty much just taking another L. The kicker changed his
over.
kicking stance. And the way you awkwardly showed it last time we were on together, I was like, what is he doing? It looked like he's surfing, like he's hitting the surfboard.
He's going to show it on national television soon, and I can't wait for it. Dangerous Dave's Jeeping Trip says, I said don't trade for him, but was happy we got him. Who are we talking about? Christian. I said I didn't like it either. All right, so let's talk about the best trade in franchise history, trading for Christian McCaffrey, trading for Steve Young. There's some good ones, but there's also some really, really awful trades. And obviously, Trey Lance trade right up there. We've talked about that one before.
That is up there.
It's up there. I got another one, and let's talk about this one for a second and ultimately rank which one was worse. So 3 firsts and a third for Trey Lance, 4 starts. It doesn't get much worse than that. But you can sort of see where the Niners are coming from in a crazy, deranged way. Like, you need a quarterback. Teams sometimes make big risks for quarterback that don't work out, but you kind of get it. They traded DeForest Buckner. They drafted DeForest Buckner with the 7th pick. He ended up being better than they probably thought he would be. At 25 years old, they just had to give him out $20 million a year, and they felt that was too much. So they traded him right before his prime so they could keep Eric Armstead, who's not as good as Buckner, and he's gone. Then, with the pick that they got for Buckner, which wasn't the 7th pick, they drafted him with the 7th pick. They got the 13th pick back like he got worse, even though so they got the 13th pick. They trade down, they get Javon Kinlaw, who's gone. And then to rectify that mistake, they signed Javon Hargrave, who's gone. And then to replace him, they draft Alfred Collins, who hasn't even signed yet. Meanwhile, Buckner's still great. He's like the 8th or 9th best defensive tackle in the league. They should have just not done that. Like, that was so unnecessary. And they try to make it seem like it was business 101 at the time, but I feel like they're still paying for it and they're still trying to rectify it. Anyway, how bad was that one? Worst of all time or second worst?
Probably neither, because I still don't. I think the only thing I hate about that trade is why'd you guys trade him like what was it, like a month after their Super Bowl loss?
Yeah.
Less? Like,
Yeah.
what was the rush? So I don't think you needed a rush. I think the timeline, no matter what, to trade players is, especially if you're acquiring a draft pick, is from the moment the season ends to the draft. So you got a solid 3 months. I don't understand why they rushed that. That's the only thing, like, because even Buckner, when he actually had availability to you guys, right? He had availability to you guys, and a bunch of you guys asked him, like, hey, so whatever happened? He's like, I don't know. I even told him I would take like a discount. It wasn't like a massive discount, but I think he did say he would take like something. And so, oh, there's definitely a disconnect in that sense. So that was my thing. Like, what was the rush? But then, no, oh, wait, no, I'm now starting to come back to me. The rush was number 2. Free agency was coming up. They had Jimmy Ward. They had Eric Armstead they had to pay. And their mindset was like, look, we still probably get an adequate defensive tackle, keep Armstead, who's versatile, and Jimmy Ward. So I didn't mind it. I understood it. I got it because Buckner is better than both of those guys impactfully and a leader-wise, so it definitely hurt. Like, even when all the times I'm asking Joey Greenlaw, like, who was like your veteran that took you under the wing your first year, your rookie year 2019? He's like, oh, Defoe, dude. Like Defoe, when he always jokes, he's like, "Oh, you struggling?" He's like, "Yeah, like, well, get like pick your ass up, like let's go, like it's one of those things." So it was always funny when he always talks about those moments with him. So yeah, like it definitely is a stinging one, but I get it because you were able to keep Jimmy Ward, who's an excellent player, vastly underrated, probably one of the top 5 most underrated 49er in the last 6 years, probably, or not the last 6 years because he was on the team last 2 years, but I guess from from a few years from them. And then Eric Armstead, his gripe was just like not being able to, stay afloat for more than like 12, 13 games a season, but they were impactful and he was a fairly dominant player, especially in like the Super Bowl, the last Super Bowl they played before he left. So yeah, I don't honestly, like, I get it, but I did not have that much of a gripe about it. I just didn't understand, like, maybe you could have waited a little longer just to get things together, see if maybe get something work. But I get it because even like, again, Armstead, Jimmy Ward, 2 excellent players. You get Kinlaw. You hope Kinlaw was solid. I just think because of if they did anyone but Kinlaw, it probably would have looked better because you had a guy who had, what was it? They said that he had a degenerate knee or something like that, an arthritis. I don't know, something degenerate knee. I always hear people something, but I don't think degenerate is the right word. So they had he had a bad knee, point he had just one flash year, and it's just. I just think if they draft someone else, I think we'd be seeing a different tune right now.
Worse. You're right. It wouldn't have been seen as the worst trade of all time.
I don't mind them not getting Tristan Wirfs because they allowed them to get Trent Williams too. So that's another domino effect that might have come from this too. So you get Trent Williams, and now it's like, okay, this kind of looks better. You calm down. So I mean, I thought the trade was fine, but I get it because it's like, dude, he was so impactful. He was homegrown, like he's a leader, and that's one thing a lot of players talk about.
Time though, it's like this allows us to keep Armstead and Ward, which was a good point. It's just it felt like short-sighted because Ward is now a 33-year-old DB who's, a 33-year-old DB. I love Jimmy Ward. And like Armstead, we didn't know that he was going to have plantar fasciitis, but he's pretty much past his prime at this point. Whereas Buckner's still Buckner. And I think we probably could have projected that. He had showed a level of consistency that Armstead hadn't. And Ward's a DB. Like DBs don't age as gracefully. Like Buckner could have been, had they kept him, Ring of Honor, team Hall of Fame, maybe not NFL Hall of Fame, but like all quarter century team with Justice. He's up there and he's gone. Fine. But why did you get rid of him? You thought they said, well, he wanted tier 1 money. He wants Aaron Donald money, which wasn't that much 5 years ago, but okay, he's not a tier 1 DT. He's not. So you kept a tier 3 DT instead of a tier 2 DT. Armstead washes out. You trade him for an unknown, ends up being like not really an impact player. And then you end up giving the money you should have gave to Buckner to Hargrave, who wasn't even a good fit. No, it was not Buckner. It's like, that's why I kind of got upset with the trade is like, you messed up and you try to fix it with Hargrave and you're still trying to fix it. Well, he should just be on this team. He should be playing next to Bosa. I don't know. But
yeah, no, I mean, it's true. It's true that it's like, yeah, we've kind of screwed up, like not being able to replace him because Armstead was fine, but like even then he still has an empty spot next to him, which they thought Kinlaw was going to be that. And I just think because Kinlaw just flamed out with them, he barely had like one decent year, and that was like in 2023. That after that it was just like great, like we're left with nothing. And I think maybe they did. No, not maybe they did underestimate like how special of a player Buckner is. Like I'm not saying like he's Aaron Donald special, but it's like. For him to still be a fairly high level player now, it's like, wow, okay, like, yeah, like, and he doesn't miss that many games. I think maybe he started missing games last year too, but
he did. He missed like 5. So we'll see.
But now it's with age. Remember at that time he wasn't missing games though.
If Kinlaw has a big year in Washington and if Armstead has a big year in Jacksonville, that would look bad for the Niners. Hoping CJ West and Alfred Collins grow up fast, but we'll see what happens.
No, yeah, you're definitely putting a lot of pressure on these rookies to be something. So it's like
be DeForest Buckner now. That didn't work for Kinlaw.
And then you gotta remember though, when they did let Buckner go, like they did have DJ Jones to supplement that on third downs, which was fine because he was excellent third down pass rusher. Not to the degree of terms of impacting the whole offensive line that Buckner was, but they were just. I saw their logic at the time, like, hey, we do this, we'll get rid of one really good player for two good players, and then we're gonna hopefully replace them with another good player that's gonna be here for years to come, and then it didn't work out.
They didn't give Alfred Collins his number. I think that's the kiss of death. When you try to give the Buckner replacement the Buckner number, Kinlaw was, I mean, so CJ West got it. I feel like CJ West has got a chance.
That was, yeah, when it's like one thing is like, bro, you already know that this guy is being your Buckner replacement, and now he's gonna have the same number. He's gonna forever be up. He's gonna forever be trying to. He can't hold a candle to Buckner. No. And I think that was like, even if we assumed health, I remember even back then, it's like, dude, even if he's healthy, there's no way I don't see him being a Buckner type. I just see him as being like, oh, we're gonna look at him as like, yeah, he's a really solid player. He's good. He has his moments, but he's not Buckner. Where it's like enough where
Buckner
it's like
had a level of leadership that was unmatched on that defense.
No, it's definitely unmatched. I think even offensive players talk about. I know Kittle talks about him. I think for sure, but before back in the day, or that guy was just
Armstead was a leader, but Buckner was more of one.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
1,000%.
Yeah. Anyway,
who got drafted first, Buckner or him? Buckner, right?
Buckner got drafted the year after, but he got drafted earlier. He was 7th pick, and Armstead was like 15.
It's always hard for me, like football, because it's like Oregon boys, and it's like
at no point in Armstead's life, on no day of his life, did he wake up better than Buckner at football. I'm sorry, that's how I feel. It's never happened. Never will.
He's not better. Still a damn good player.
Yeah. Damn good player, though. Dangerous Dave's Jeeping Trip says, do you think Emmanuel Sanders trade got us to the Super Bowl? That was huge.
Yeah, it did.
Because if it wasn't him, they were going to be playing Dante Pettis.
If it wasn't for him, it wouldn't allow Deebo Samuel to start to ascend.
True.
Like that was huge trade. That was a huge trade. We talk about trades in end of Niner history that took them like far. Sanders. Like that was one. That was always great because that's always things that they all get imparted with. Like Deebo Samuel, someone thinking he like, oh, I'll forever like hold on to that tutelage now to this day. Like for Sanders and like all these other players, like they all still have that to this day. You
could argue that the last two Super Bowl runs were fueled by great midseason trades. Now,
was Super Bowl
for McCaffrey, it took a year because Purdy messed up his elbow in the first NFC Championship game, and they may not have won that game, but. Sanders, McCaffrey, two midseason trades that were really critical for a Super Bowl run.
I think they would have won that game if Purdy was healthy.
They could have. Absolutely. They could have.
I picked the Eagles to win that game, I remember initially, but after like seeing the way like the Eagles looked in that game that they barely they didn't start pulling away until like late in the third quarter of that game. And then the way the Niners handled them next year, I was like, okay, yeah, I'm pretty confident now they would have beat them and went there.
Yeah, the Niners defense showed up. They had D'Amico that year. And the Eagles weren't quite what I mean. They didn't have Barkley. They weren't quite as good as they are now.
Gosh, speaking,
I do think it's interesting that Jalen Hurts is just as bad in these late game situations as Purdy. I think that's interesting, man.
I think I would trust Purdy more in those situations than Hurts a little bit. Because Hurts, I just feel like
either one.
A little scattered brain. I mean, Hurts will get scattered brain if he's gonna throw it, unless he's gonna just run it. If he's gonna tuck and run it, okay, cool, I trust him. Which I'm actually surprised. Like. You were just looking at passing touchdowns. What do you think his running touchdowns were? I don't know if we were actually paying attention to that.
Let's see. Let's check it out.
But then how many times have you been in those situations where they've actually been down?
Okay, here we go. So Hurts, 58 carries, 81 yards, 3 touchdowns. So a lot of tush pushes.
Okay, so that makes sense. Yeah,
a lot of tush pushes. And how many first downs? 12 first downs? Huh. Just not as great as you'd think. And yet, look at the guys at the top. Jaden Daniels. Yeah. Joe Burrow. Stroud. Darnold. Brady. Flacco. Dak, surprisingly. Although, not that great. Anyway.
Dak's not surprising. They're always behind the 8 ball. So that's why it's like they got to be fighting for their lives.
That's true. He's got a lot of experience in those situations. Last one, then we're getting out of here. Dangerous Dave's Jeeping Trip says football teams Football seems to evolve, but it also just rolls over. Meaning importance of certain things varies, but the trenches are important again. Yet O-line has never been important to Lyle. Buckner was the best. Yeah, I mean, if Brock gets hurt this year, if the offensive line is like a limiting factor or ruins the season, then you'd have to go to Kyle and be like, dude, this is hurting the team unless you evolve. Mate, I don't know. I mean, what am I trying to say? Eventually, you need a coach who values the offensive line. So either that's going to be Kyle or someone else. I don't know. I think.
See, they haven't invested in offensive line. They just have whiffed on all their picks that they've been doing. Like, I know the last 2 years it hasn't been like heavy, but like even before that, it's like, yeah, look at like Jared Kingston's not even on the team. Like, they're just drafting. So that's the thing. Like, just it's not as simple as like just draft offensive lineman. It's like, no, it's got to be the right one. Have there been some? And like even this free agency period this year is like, dude, it was kind of slim. No, this free agency market in general was very sneaky. It wasn't that good.
Their two big offensive line draft picks are the two guys from Notre Dame, McGlinchey and Banks. And I think it's pretty clear that pretty early on the Niners were dissatisfied with both of them. Like, why did we, splurge on these players? We never spend high draft picks on offensive linemen, but we went against our tendency for these two guys. And we're watching them every day and we're like, man, they're not even better than their backups. And then they ultimately replaced both of them with their backups, Ben Barch and Colton McKivitz. We'll see if it works, but the Niners are all about just getting cost-effective options who don't completely suck. That's what they want in their offensive line.
I'm down for cost-effective at guard, not for tackles or center. Guard, sure. Because you can find okay guards. Like, look, Puni was second rounder, right? Or third rounder.
Third.
And he's going to end up being their third best offensive lineman if he has another good season this year. So
I have my prediction for this year is that Connor Colby is going to end up starting at some point, and they're going to need him to play well. Because I don't know about this Ben Barch guy. He gets hurt a lot.
He does, because I think his last year was with Jacksonville before he joined the Niners.
Yeah.
He was dealing with a knee. Was it like a patellar too or something like that?
Yeah.
No, not a patellar. Was it patellar?
Something. Yeah, it's
had knee and like
yeah.
the next year, and it's like, and what did he mess up last year? He messed up his ankle. He had an ankle sprain.
Something. It's
Probably see him by like week 3 or week 4, like start to break down. Then it's over for him.
And then we'll see Spencer Burford. That's not great. And he could be playing left tackle. Who's gonna be playing left? Andre Dillard? Apparently, I don't know. God, he sucks.
Yeah, they're really screwed when Williams gets hurt. Talking about the question marks, that's the second biggest question mark. Like Williams, he's gonna miss games. That's a fact. But how many? And is it a lot? And does he drop off?
ESPN, or was it? I don't know. Pro Football Focus ranked the offensive lines in the league. The Niners ranked 12th, which is
how'd they rank 12th? Didn't they rank them like 14th the month?
Yeah, I don't know. It's debatable, but it's like, okay, so what about for the 3 to 7 games that Trent Williams isn't going to play? Where do they rank then? 32nd?
I think that's why 32nd. They don't account for it's all like a paper thing. It's like, oh, these guys like absent of health. If you're just looking at it on Madden, like, oh, these guys are good. Like if it just stays, but it's like, all right, if you want to factor health and depth, then it's like, okay, you're gonna drop them off pretty fat then. So that's one thing for sure. If one player gets lost on that offensive line, it's looking really bad. You can probably get away with it if it's in the guard position, but you can kind of say that for a lot of offenses though,
and we don't know that Dominic Puni is definitely a perennial Pro Bowler. He had a good rookie season. We've seen a lot of guys have a good rookie season and not replicate it. I think he's going to be good, but he has to go out and prove that he can do it again and stay healthy.
Yeah, they thought Jair Brown was going to be fine, and look, he flamed out badly.
Who is a better Big Dom, Dominic Puni or the dude in Philly?
In terms of what?
They should call Dominic Puni Big Dom, so it's like they have their own version of him. You know what I mean? Like a Big Dom.
I think in terms of size, it's definitely Puni. But let me tell you, I was like I was in New Orleans. I was right next to Big Dom. I was like, this guy is pretty freaking big. Holy crap!
Yeah, I wouldn't mess with him.
Trust on the line. Go make some push that blocking set. No wonder why.
All right, back to vacation time for me, Jose. Thank you very much for doing this stream with me while nothing's going on in Niners world and helping me just take another shot at Brock Purdy, one day at a time. One day at a time.
Although I'm apparently the bigger hater than you when it comes to him. But I haven't heard anyone complain because I'm not on there anymore.
That's all right.
Don't forget, Last Dance, Diamond Poirier next week. The Diamond Era.
What's that?
This is Dustin Poirier, UFC fighter. His retirement fight next Saturday. I just got it. It's the Last Dance. We're shining bright like a diamond for the last time.
Is that your favorite fighter?
He's one of them, which sucks. He's fighting Max Holloway, so it's like I just hope both guys have fun. It's gonna be hard to watch.
Thanks for watching.